My name is Marvin. I am from Amsterdam. Um, this is my girlfriend and my two kids, two sons, and my dog Yuka. So I live in Amsterdam, and I am a motion designer for almost 20 plus years. So I've been in the industry for a long time already, and I've seen a lot of shifts and changes. And it's still one of my favorite things to do. I really like our industry. It's great to kind of shape shift and kind of get new briefs in and try new styles. There's always new software coming in or new techniques that we kind of go in and, I don't know, explore. I think it's the curiosity of me and trying to jump around to kind of explore different things. So I've been designing for a long time. I have a big passion for making music as well, and both of these interests kind of led me into motion design because I really wanted to combine the two, and I found motion as the kind of vehicle to, well, kind of capture all the things that I like to do, and that became my main profession. So I'm in it for 20 years. I started Woodwork in 2011, so that's already 15 years ago or something, so that's already quite a long time we are running around. And it's a studio that's based on, it's called Woodwork because we really like the process and the craft. And we wanted to create a platform where we could really kind of explore our ambitions and be in there to make projects, to be adventurous and kind of figure out new things and new styles and work with great people. These are some impressions of our studio, barbecue. So we're a reasonably compact team. We're about, it fluctuates, but around 8 people, so we're very hands-on. In general, generalist, but I think specialist and generalist. We work across a lot of different styles and projects. So as you can see here, I mean, we like doing branding or motion branding and identity. Kind of tap into a lot of different techniques, and I think we're looking for aesthetics that can tell a story in the right way and elevate the message. So we start with a brief often, and then we look at the creative angle, and then we decide basically what the best kind of aesthetic is to tell that story, and that allows us to kind of try different techniques because we like to jump into 3D illustration, you name it, live action, just to get the message across. So a big chunk of our portfolio, of some of the work that we've done, one of the parts that we've done is broadcast design. And maybe now broadcast design is a bit of a dinosaur, but it allowed us to kind of learn a lot about motion graphics and kind of servicing kind of like a message and working with creating robust systems that are easy to work with. And over the years, we started with one of the public channels of the Netherlands, the NPO, which is kind of like the equivalent of the BBC, but in the Netherlands, not as big. And because we did that project, it kind of segued into more broadcast projects. So I think now, in these 15 years, we have kind of touched most of the Dutch kind of broadcast channels, and we've kind of rebranded a lot of them. Also some streaming agencies. I think, and building these kind of systems really kind of helped us to think about how we build motion systems and type toolkits and that kind of stuff. And it's been very handy over the years to think in this way of how to kind of create motion branding systems to, for now, basically make social media systems, or it's a handy thing that we've learned over the years. So that is one part of our portfolio. And then we've also done a lot of these kind of more CGI-heavy product films that we've done over the years. So Adidas has been a client that has been returning quite often, and we've done so for Wilson Sporting Goods. And these are more kind of product-focused CGI films. I think that's kind of like, for a long time, a dream to do. You know, you see all the cool stuff, you're like, okay, I wish I could do like a shoe commercial or a film. And then eventually it kind of drops on the door and you can actually go wild. So we've done a bunch of these product launches for the Adidas. That's kind of like for retail, it lives in store. But also for Wilson Sporting Goods, where they launch new products, innovation products. and then we help them kind of visualize that story. It's always a bit abstract, but it's also very nice because it leans very heavy on the art direction and the kind of like the world building around it. So that is one part. And then another thing that we've been doing just to ground ourselves, because we're not always doing 3D, or kind of want to kind of be able to, well, it's kind of nice to shift between 3D software, but also kind of go back to what we love to do as well, and that's just to kind of illustrate and kind of lose the interface and just draw kind of frames. So that kind of work started more as passion projects, because there wasn't a lot of work in the Netherlands that kind of required cell animation, but of course we saw a lot of cool stuff that were like, hey, we need to kind of dive into this as well. So we built a lot of shorts and kind of, well, tried different techniques. And then because we did these small kind of shorts, we got kind of client work coming in as well. So we got a big campaign for the KLM, which was like a recruitment film, which was all cell animated. And then we did last year we did a campaign for Duluth. It was like three cell animated films showcasing their product tech, basically. So this is one part as well that we have in our range of portfolio, and that sometimes depends on the brief, but we do some live action shooting as well, and that's more because the concept, or we think that it's the best way forward. But we only do live action basically once it's a combination of style, when it's a bit of a hybrid. So if it would just be live action, we most of the time just pass on it because we don't think we are set up for it. But if we have full control of directing it and adding cell animation or CGI to it, then we think it's nice to kind of dig in and do the filming. And as time progresses, also do the media changes. So our skills are always changing a little bit, but the media, because, well, you see these big digital out-of-home screens popping up everywhere, because that becomes kind of cheaper and more allowable. So you get briefs in to work on output that is for these special screens. And it allows us to be kind of creative and come up with some different way of storytelling. So for instance, there's on the left is a billboard we did for fans, this 2 years ago. And the brief was quite simple. It's like we bought 9 seconds, we have a product with little sim come up with a cool concept, how to kind of bring this to life. So that is that keeps it interesting for us, because we still use like 3D and 2D and whatever the tools are, but the media changed. So the way you communicate the message is also changing, and it kind of keeps it interesting to work on all these projects. And then last year we did a project in Riyadh for Times Square for Visa, and the actual like requirement was like a 70-screen huge setup. So that was very challenging to kind of wrap your head around and kind of see how you could do the storytelling on such a weird kind of canvas. So as the canvas changes, it kind of creates new challenges for us, and I think that keeps it exciting. And then these big screens also go into kind of more event visuals. So for G-Star, we did last year, there was a big exposition with a giant gorilla, you see on the right, a physical beast that was standing there. And then the request for us was to kind of make the anatomy of how that beast came into life. So we had to kind of build the heart and the muscles and kind of show how that animal actually was built from the ground up. So moving on from these kind of new media platforms, we also kind of moved a little bit out of the kind of commercial world, but slightly kind of into the more immersive environments. And in 2022, we got an assignment to work on a huge immersive experience in Rotterdam. And it was about, we had to make a 30-minute movie in 360 degree celebrating Dutch painters, basically. So it was like a journey from Vermeer all the way to Van Gogh, Rembrandt, but in our own way. So it was not copying the work like you've seen before, it's like not showing it big, but kind of our own interpretation of bringing that world to life. And that work kind of segued us into more of that kind of immersive world building. So from Remastered, we got requests for something that we did it for IKEA at a music festival, which was a immersive experience where you could chill out for 11 minutes. And it would take you on a journey through this kind of magical skyscape. So it had really good reviews. People really liked it, and it was a great success. And after that, we were asked to build an immersive experience for the Euromast, which is a big landmark tower in Rotterdam. And that kind of asked us to build a film about the upcoming of Rotterdam and be a bit more historical. And I think what's really nice about our work is that you never really know what kind of client is knocking on your door. And you kind of have to shift gears from sometimes doing a social media campaign where it needs to be super rapid and in your face and aggressive, kind of grabbing attention. But then when we move on and work on projects like these, all of a sudden you have time, and there is a moment to kind of grab you don't need to grab the attention of the visitor there, they're already there. So it kind of lets us kind of do a bit more storytelling and kind of service the visuals a bit slower. And to me, doing this work for quite a bit, I mean, I think that's what makes it super nice to keep in this industry and kind of find these different challenges. So we don't really have a template we're following. We just kind of go with the flow as we see kind of the brief come in and kind of find the aesthetic. And it's the combination of the skills of the team or the vision that we have for the aesthetic that kind of leads the way on the technique. So we don't really push one technique specifically. We kind of combine all these things. And I think what's nice about being not a one-trick pony or not being only in broadcast or whatever, it allows you to kind of take the experience from one project and bring it to something else. So I want to do a little bit of a deep dive into one of our bigger projects along the years, and that's the branding or the campaign we did for the Abu Dhabi Formula One Grand Prix. Any F1 fans in the room? All right, that's good, it's good. And if you're not a fan, don't worry, we weren't either when we started the project. So, so Formula One Abu Dhabi GP is basically one of the biggest motorsport events, I think, on the globe at the moment. And, when it started, we basically got a phone call on a Friday, the Yas Marina circuit giving us a phone call that they saw the work that we did for Adidas on Behance and that they were really impressed by our work and really loved it. And they just asked us, do you want to work on the next campaign for the Formula One in Abu Dhabi? So obviously there was no pitch, it was just kind of like them enjoying our work and giving us the opportunity. So obviously we were very flattered, and of course we said yes. But to be honest, I didn't even know where Abu Dhabi was. So, 1 second, sorry. So, I mean, I've been in Dubai, but I didn't know where Abu Dhabi was. I thought it was the same city. So, this Abu Dhabi, it's in the UAE, and they have this massive racetrack, which is maybe pretty famous. And the rest of it is they have beautiful architecture. They host the Louvre, and it's basically a big playground for adults. So, when they briefed us, they said you have 1 month basically to build this. So can you help us with a key visual, a main graphic, and can you help us with an animation, like a key visual animation that we can use basically as an ident? So I said, yeah, of course we can do this. And the theme is Go Unreal. Unreal because the event is crazy. It's not only the race, but everything around it. It's like there's parties, there's like after-race concerts, there's acts, there's food, it's a huge festival. So we're like, all right, we had no idea what we expected. So, but the brief was like, okay, You cannot use any landmarks. You cannot use anything that you can remind you of Abu Dhabi, so no sand, nothing kind of from the environment there. Nothing Arabic, so no patterns, no tiles or anything else. And no teams of the sport. So we're like, all right, that doesn't leave us a lot of ingredients to play with. So, as I told you, we weren't really hardcore into Formula One. I mean, some of our team members were, but most of us weren't. So we had to kind of search online, like, okay, what's the landscape? So we're looking at all these posters, like, okay, what's been made already? And in general, I think a lot of it was kind of, in a sense, similar, like it was, and leaning on landmarks. So we were kind of like, okay, this is the kind of playground, and we cannot show any destination. So how are we gonna kind of angle this? So this is 2022, and back then Web3 and the metaverse was still a thing, and NFTs as well. So our client said, well, maybe it should be this kind of future world and kind of future forward, and nothing grounded in now. We are the destination of the future. So we kind of dove into kind of checking out, like figuring out where this client's head was, because we didn't know the region, we had no idea what their aesthetic was and kind of what they loved. So we went kind of on Pinterest, searching for the right kind of mood, and we were like, okay, then maybe we should kind of look into this kind of metaverse environment. Tunnels, portals, like what is this destination that we cannot show? So we need to kind of dig into abstractions and kind of aesthetics. So we made mood boards, kind of figuring out internally in the team, so what is this style? Are we going to represent it by kind of vibrancy flows or equalizers? What are the ingredients that we can play with? Making more mood boards, all kind of course, combinations of found footage. So we're like, okay, maybe it's refractions. Maybe it's kind of like this refracting into this metaverse, but how are we able to visualize the excitement of going unreal without actually showing what is on the other side of the reel? So we were like, okay, maybe we need a portal. We need something that kind of leads you through this kind of crazy threshold. So more mood boards presenting this, like, okay, we're thinking like, it doesn't represent anything. We're just looking for kind of energy or excitement in abstractions that are not really something, but it feels like it's something. So we kind of explored a lot internally. These particle flows, we're like, okay, there's something there. Maybe the destination is more fragmented and more distorted. So yeah, after a while you make so many kind of style frame mood boards, you're kind of like, okay, now this is the time we actually need to make stuff, because we can talk about it forever, but let's see if we can find the way to what we actually want to show. So studio kind of went broad, and we all kind of started to explore. So this is all kind of exploration of us individually, kind of trying to make posters or key visuals that we think could resonate with the client. So from very obvious kind of designs where it's kind of more masculine and kind of dark and neon to kind of very vibrant and color, just to kind of get a sense of where we could bring this. Because we didn't have any preconception of what F1 should look like, and we knew that it was predominantly kind of male orientated, but we wanted to kind of break out of it and make it kind of more vibrant. So these are just a set of explorations, and then we ended up on this kind of set of visuals that we really kind of liked, because it was abstract and it was kind of vibrant and it felt a bit future. It was kind of glass refractions, and we were kind of vibing in this direction for quite a long time. And we thought we were going into a pretty good direction with the client as well, of them liking it. But then after kind of honing in and kind of optimizing it, one of our other kind of creatives in the team built this one, and then somehow this really connected to the client, and we were all kind of surprised by that, like, okay, why? But I think the reason why they liked it is I think it felt close to the region, and it had some vibrancy about it, and it felt more like sculptural instead of just race. So funny enough, they went for this direction, and we were also kind of a little bit surprised internally. And then we kind of optimized it a bit, and then it became this visual. So remember, we only had a month, so it was really kind of deep diving in kind of getting this into the right position. And it was a kind of like aggressive approach of getting to the right result. So once we made this key visual, we had to put it into an animation. And it's a key visual animation. So basically, see it as an ident, and they use it basically to kind of dress up edits or online socials. So this is the first video we made for them. So yeah, we noticed that we didn't have a lot to play with, but we actually got invited to join the event, to see the event, and kind of get a sense of what we were actually building it for and how it was used. So we arrived at Abu Dhabi, and then we basically saw that it was literally everywhere. So they used that poster to the max. So the whole region was just covered in our one visual, which was surprising and fun, of course, and flattering to see. And we got the full F1 treatment, kind of doing the whole thing, going from backstage, the paddocks, kind of enjoying the race, front line. So we had really a massive kind of, well, we were treated really well, let's call it like that. So it was really fun to be there and to get a sense of how our visual was used. So it actually ended up on the wall of the CEO of the track. So this is kind of like his trophy wall. And then even all our kind of R&Ds and attempts were also kind of appreciated. So they also made it to a print somewhere on the wall, which was nice. So this was a rush but kind of fun experience. And we were like, okay, well, and they liked it because they actually came back. I said, well, I mean, I think they really liked our kind of, well, going head-on into the process. So they came back like a month later and say, well, great, let's go and continue. And we're keeping the go on reel, but this time we wanted to be more connected to the region because I think it was nice, but we wanted to be more part of the Yas Island. And the Yas Island is basically, like I said, it's kind of like a big, what's an island with only entertainment. There's Ferrari World, they have SeaWorld, they have, I don't know, Warner Brothers, everything you can imagine. They're building Disney World. But they had this branding, like this Yas thing, and they said we want the branding of F1 or the campaign we're doing for the region to be more connected to this kind of tourist brand. So like, all right, well, let's see if we can kind of infuse that into the direction. So we took the colors, we kind of set them apart, we added a bit of gradient to them, so we had some more things to play with. And then we started to kind of design these simple but kind of nice flags. So they were these patterns we were creating from the brand colors. And that became basically a bit of our kind of building block, our branding block basically, wrapping paper. So instead of doing one image, we were like, okay, maybe we need to kind of build something more versatile and something that is more, how do you call that? Kind of like more pliable in different ways, modular. So we built kind of like a library of moving elements and then started to apply that to these kind of race elements like the helmets and the race car and the driver. And just by applying these textures, we kind of saw like, hey, this is kind of actually working. It's vibrant, it's kind of more playful, it's not as kind of dark as the most things we saw or kind of masculine as the most visuals we saw from F1 or that kind of landscape. We wanted to make it a bit more inclusive. So the whole Drive to Survive was also a big hit back then, and it changed the whole kind of popularity of the game, of the race. And it changed also the people, the fans, going more from families, women liking it as well. So we wanted to kind of show in our visuals that it would be more inviting. So we applied these graphics. kind of. And then part of it was the F1 type. That was part of the thing that we had to use because that is kind of overlapping all of the branding. So the Formula 1 type was mandatory to use. And then additional to that, we created a kind of a toolkit, a sticker overlay toolkit, put that into animation as well, of course. And that became kind of like the ingredients we could use to kind of build from that library. So from that library, we start to kind of build new key visuals for this year's event, 2023. And we wanted to make them also way more vibrant and energetic. So we created these sets as our first explorations. It was jumping into the unreal, kind of pushing through the threshold from the kind of mundane to the colorful and to the expressive. And we were really happy with this kind of new direction because it felt more vibrant and different than what we've seen in the F1 landscape. And it felt more festive, way more suited to the actual event, where there was like a lot of live music. And so we made more of that. And we were really happy with kind of like this threshold of kind of like the driver coming through, and it was really recognizable instantly. So we made some mock-ups, of course. And then we explored a bit further, and we went into this because they liked it, but they missed a bit of the aggressiveness of the race, and they thought it was not showing the race car enough because that's the equity of the brand, and that's instantly recognizable. So it was a little bit too abstract for them. So we kind of explored further, and then we created these kind of racetracks. We had this kind of fractal cube version. We had this more psychedelic one, which we really like, where it's kind of more bending reality. But we took it too far there because that was too psychedelic. So we explored further, and then we ended up into this roller coaster. And they really kind of started to like this direction of the simplicity of the race car there, the different angles, the kind of Inception feel of like everything is going upside down all the way around, and the whole ride of the event is basically a roller coaster. So this actually made it further, and then we kind of explored further. And I want to kind of appreciate this because this is actually one Designers Republic, and Wipeout is a video game that inspired me as a kid when I was 17, I think. Actually kind of brought me into design and motion design. And I think it's fun to see that your work kind of, as you obviously take your inspiration with you and bring that into your work. But indirectly it's, well, I think you take your heroes with you. So we ended up on this KV. And remember, they liked this because it was easy to use and apply. Because it was easy to kind of crop and take parts of it. And yeah, it allowed them to use in any way possible. So other kind of croppings. And then we made a key visual again, but this time we had a lot more ingredients to play with and a lot more fun making it. Thank you. So yeah, that was a really good piece for us because I think it was we had more momentum and we could kind of just dig in a bit deeper and build more kind of foundation, and it became more of a branding project or an identity project than just a one-off piece. And also, of course, we gained a bit of trust by the client. A nice thing to mention is that we have our in-house audio studio as well. So this is Max kind of working on the audio. Yeah, this is what making music looks like nowadays, just kind of moving your mouse. but no, I think music is obviously a huge part of our product. So in 2018, we decided to kind of build an audio studio internally, and it kind of really helps to kind of add more joy into the whole process and have it close, because I think such a nice element of what we make, and music really brings the visuals to life. So before we worked with external studios, but you kind of lose a bit of that feeling of creation. So we really wanted to have that close into our process. And sometimes the music is the starting point and it leads the project. So I just wanted to show that. So we had that key visual in place. We tried to push it more, kind of showing like, hey, don't you want this digital out of home? Because we like to do that as well. They didn't. So then we said, hey, don't you need like an immersive experience on the event? Because it'd be nice to really have a spot where you can appreciate and look at the highlights of the race. No, they didn't need it, unfortunate. But they did want a motion toolkit for all their kind of graphic output for social, for on the festival. So we took all the ingredients that we kind of developed and then brought that and took our broadcast kind of old school experience with us to kind of build a motion system for them that they could use internally. So it was built out of kind of 5 layers. So we had these kind of, like you see on top, we have the motion graphic kind of stickers. We have all the 3D elements there that they could kind of turn on and off. We had a whole set of wipes and closers and openers and lower thirds and type tools. And we kind of made that modular for them so they can just kind of flick through it and easy enough kind of use it. And I think this is a really nice example of the things that we really like. Just it starts with graphic design, then we add some CGI or 3D. It's a full combination of ingredients that we enjoy to make. So here's a little bit of a agenda. I mean, everything was warped and weird. So they used this, they really liked it, and the next year we actually went to the event. We saw that they actually used it on board for every flight going to Abu Dhabi. So we were flattered and we were like, shit, that's pretty cool. Like that force feed so many people our graphics. So that was cool. So we saw our graphic system there. We also made a lot of after movies for our clients, so went in and editing that. Later that year we actually shot the after movie for them because we didn't want to use pre-made footage but actually kind of shoot it, as you can see here. So we went back during the race and kind of shot a brand film for them to showcase the full experience, how it would be as a visitor enjoying the whole island and being a VIP. After every race, they have these massive concerts. So they had like Post Malone, Metallica, whatever, all the major kind of names. And to promote that, they wanted kind of us to create more of the toolkit. So create a toolkit that was kind of showing the golden circle or upsell more expensive tickets. So we took that toolkit and kind of added gold, because you can add gold in Abu Dhabi and you cannot do that in the Netherlands. So we used the same ingredients but kind of uprest it to kind of the gold version, and then we made a night version out of it, which was more focused on the entertainment. So guitars, whatever, speakers, DJ sets, kind of like a toolkit that they could play with, and built on the same principles, but we kind of tweaked it a bit so it was more focused on the entertainment. And it just kept giving, like all that stuff that we gave them, it just kind of ended up becoming more, which was great. They even used a livery and then just planted it on all their F3 cars. So another great kind of present that came back like, wow, how cool is that? So that year was really kind of special to us. It was really nice. And here's a recap video. Thank you. Yeah, so that was a good year, I think. And we thought, well, that's it. I mean, that was a good run. It was fun, experienced the F1 lifestyle. But they came back again. So they weren't bored with us, which is good, I think. So this year they had a different strategy. We didn't go Unreal, but we went Be More. So what's Be More? And it means that their strategy was, well, once you visit this event, you come out of it as a changed person. You became more. So, all right, I'll take it. So Be More was the strategy of this year. So we laid the foundation, and now let's keep building on it, because this worked. I think it was a good start and a good foundation. So we could actually continue the work that we already started in 2023, and that was a really nice gift. So we were like, okay, what can we kind of add to this graphic world that we already established? We're like, okay, maybe we can bring it into the real world. Maybe we can kind of take these graphics and kind of bring it to a more tangible environment. These are our first kind of explorations. And we're like, okay, we already introduced this kind of avatar character. We're still in 2023. Web3 and the metaverse is still a thing. So we can kind of maybe have this avatar kind of lead you through the F1 universe. So this was our first kind of exploration. Then we were like exploring further. And we ended up kind of figuring out like, hey, maybe it's cool to kind of break that 2D graphic world and push it into a more of a 3D kind of shattered environment. So we kind of got into this phase. And then we were like, hey, this is one of my inspirations as well. It's a Dutch artist, Delta, and he's a really great graffiti artist who is known for his kind of 3D graphic design. So while we were building this, we're like, hey, this reminds me a bit of this kind of expressive graffiti style. So we're kind of getting excited, like this is getting into a nice direction. So we took that kind of simple idea of the 2D that we established in the previous year, and then kind of break it open as if it would be kind of Formula One car kind of passing by and kind of shattering it. So we thought that was a pretty cool kind of device. And then another thing that we noticed is that, hey, the race, it starts during the day, but it actually drives into the night. So it starts during daytime, and then as it goes, the sun sets and it becomes night. So that would be a nice kind of ingredient we could use in the visual storytelling for the Be More. So what is Be More? Maybe Be More is like battling yourself, or kind of, well, so we ended up in this kind of direction. It was like, maybe there's a duality there, and you kind of have to battle yourself to become more. So we kind of thought it's cool because we already have this entertainment world, and we have the kind of the daytime world. Maybe we can combine those and let that be our kind of driver of this campaign. So we had this graphic, and then we had to make a cinematograph, basically a looping animation that they could use throughout all their touch points. So they use this on basically anything you could see, like in their presentations, well, apparently even on the stairs. So it ended up on a lot of things, and it showed that it was very useful. So based on this duality and this kind of flipping, we created the key visuals. And again, they were used because they were kind of versatile for them to kind of cut and paste and put in different places. And they never really use it only as it is. They kind of just move it around and kind of play with it. So when we established this key visual, we had to kind of bring it to life again in this animation. So we continued our journey and made this animation out of the key visual. Thank you. So that year we also kind of had to update the toolkit, and so we did, and because we wanted to kind of progress on what we already established, we kind of updated it slightly, but we added these kind of more 3D effects, and that we could also use the previous year's devices, but kind of build upon it. So same system, but kind of just added more ingredients for them. So nothing really went to waste. Some bumpers and wipes, titles. And then they launched the campaign, and they actually did it in the Louvre, which is kind of amazing, of course, to see the work that you do in your studio in Amsterdam, and that actually ends up in the Louvre in Abu Dhabi, which is obviously, well, it's not the art that's on the wall, but it's still in the Louvre. So really great to see that. And then they applied it, also more in a creative way, I think. And then again, it was everywhere in whole Abu Dhabi. (2025). All roads lead to Abu Dhabi. So we tried to kind of see if we could find a way to kind of steer away of what we created and kind of see if we can open it up a bit. And the idea was to kind of create a system that was more built on a system instead of just a key visual. So we were like, okay, maybe we need to kind of build a graphic device that could help us kind of build a whole universe around it. So from a very simple device, we thought maybe this gives us a different approach. So this simple kind of wayfinder going into different directions. And the idea about All Roads Lead to Abu Dhabi was basically that it's the finale, and that every race before always leads to that finale. It doesn't matter what happens, it will always be in Abu Dhabi. So the idea that all roads lead to Abu Dhabi was a nice catch. So from this kind of graphic device, we were exploring like, okay, maybe we can make something like a system that is based on that kind of wayfinding, that arrow, and that led us to these kind of explorations of trying something new that we haven't done before. We presented it. It was kind of liked, not really, but kind of sort of. Then we made this kind of 3D exploration, like what if we build more of a physical space, a kind of more of a tangible world where we can kind of navigate through. It's a bit holistic, but I think we kind of let that go as well. And then we kind of went into this direction. We're like, maybe we need to brighten it up a bit, kind of go a bit from the darker, kind of bring some more brighter colors in there. Have cars kind of coming from all directions. We were kind of excited about this direction. Tried some more. I think we were getting pretty close here. And then we're, no, it's not it. So we had to go deeper, further, and then we ended up on this graphic where we kind of go in a world, zooming in, this kind of Droste effect where we zoom in. And it was also a bit of a surprise that we landed on this one, and it was also kind of closer to home for them, to what we already established. So we went full circle trying to do something new, but then kind of came back home to what we already kind of accomplished. But that year they said, well, we need a toolkit, and I think we always really liked working with the toolkit, but it's also proven to be a bit challenging because it has so many options. So maybe you guys can think of something that is a little bit easier to use for us and is more adaptable, and so more people can actually work with it, that it's not relying too much on After Effects. So we thought, what if we make a new system based on the layout of the track? So we thought, okay, maybe we can just put the whole track into 3D and build this huge kind of tunnel and use that as our kind of backdrop for the motion system, basically. So we built that tunnel, and it's like, this is great because then they can kind of go in any place of the track and kind of connect it to an action on the track. Sorry. All right, well, the other one doesn't want to play. So this is kind of what we proposed and what we created. So it's a system where you could go in and out every moment on the track, and it could correspond with the actual kind of race moment. And then they could very easily kind of undress it to make it less kind of prominent or more in favor of the message. So they really like this idea. So this is kind of like an element that we provided to them. And yeah. Here's a recap video. Not yet. So that system kind of helped us to kind of create opens and closes for them and easy to kind of adapt, just using Premiere, not using anything kind of too difficult. And it was also kind of easy and recognizable. So from there, we went back and created an entertainment film that was kind of leaning more into the entertainment aspect and the after-race concerts. So we used kind of like the more LED feel and the kind of nighttime feel to create these after entertainment films. So that was our kind of 2025 journey. And to kind of recap everything that we've done for F1, we made a sizzle reel to kind of appreciate the journey so far.
Cometh the hour, cometh the man. What an amazing season. The final race of the year.
Clear ahead of Sebastian.
Abu Dhabi.
And the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is go!
It is Lewis Hamilton winning.
Max Verstappen wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Lando Norris wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We did it. World champions.
Come out of water, TT Yola, getting older, Cali sober.
The final race of the year is 5 lights away. Let's go!
Getting older, Cali sober. Come out of water, TT Yola, getting older,
Box this lap, box
Cali
this lap.
sober. Come out of water, TT Yola, getting older, Cali sober. Come out of water, TT Yola. Getting older, Cali sober.
Across the line, and it is
It's not
an
like a
amazing
motor.
end to that. Oh, it was really close. Amazing stuff. He wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Getting older, Cali sober.
Thanks again. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey with them, to be honest. I mean, it started in 2022 with a simple email that they wanted to work, and then it kept kind of growing and growing. And you know, never really kind of know what a project will end or how it kind of evolves. And I think if you would know that you were in for a 4-year journey with a client, you would kind of have different ideas about how you would set up a project. You don't be that reactive. But I think it's also a very challenging and fun project for ourselves to kind of challenge our own creative and be able to keep working on top of our own design and having the trust of a client that kind of keeps pushing with us. And it's always not really a clear brief. They just give us kind of like a framework. And with it, there's not a lot of ingredients, but within that framework, you have to be kind of creative and find out what clicks. So, and we're not done with them, so our journey continues. We are basically at the moment also kind of developing the new campaign, which now we are actually kind of deviating a little bit from what we have established and get the opportunity to kind of come up with some new directions, which is going to be exciting for us. And so last year, which was a nice kind of surprise, we figured out that our graphics actually made it into the film, the F1 movie from Brad Pitt. So we changed our name from Woodwork to Hollywoodwork. Here you go. Change the sign. So obviously that's a really nice compliment. I mean, it's just crazy to see that it's actually made it into movie, and that our client actually told us that they reprinted the 2023 campaign so to make sure that it was like the right continuation in the movie. So I don't know, it was flattering to kind of see that we actually made it to Hollywood. So from one phone call on a Friday, being in the Louvre, being in Hollywood, I don't know, pretty cool. So, and that basically is as far as where we are for this client. But funny enough, when you do one project, the same as all the other projects I'll show you, they always segue into other projects. So all of a sudden, you are the F1 expert in the Netherlands, obviously. So Viaplay, it's a Dutch, it's not, but it is in the Netherlands, it's a streamer, and they asked us to kind of pitch in for a commercial. So we made this just now, it just finished, it's now airing basically. But now we are this F1 specialist that kind of visualizes race cars, which is kind of funny. Obviously we don't want to do F1 cars the rest of the life, but we like this wave that we're in now. And it's really cool because this is definitely a completely different aesthetic. It's more CGI, we rebuilt the whole Dutch racetrack. It's showing all the new kind of car updates, or it's the new car basically. We're showing the new features of the race car. So yeah, it's nice. It just shows that once you put your work out, it kind of helps you kind of bring in new work, and then you get this, hopefully, kind of this stream of momentum. So that's it for my deep dive. I hope everybody else has a great day and enjoys the rest of the festival. This is it. Bye-bye.